Jake, Liz Cheney said this morning that Trump would do it again if he had the chance. The January 6th committee investigating his efforts to overturn the election. And he just said the quiet part out loud. That's exactly what he wanted Pence to do. What else do they need to see?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he's now just said this out loud. It's difficult to square because we've obviously known that this was his intent since he said it in an oblique way over the, early in 2021, rather. But what's interesting here is that he put out a statement also that said that Congress is trying to rewrite the laws to make sure the vice president doesn't have a role, which means the vice president could have had a role and could have overturned the election, which is a wild misread of the law. And I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump is an expert on public laws, but what the Congress is trying to do now is to make sure that it's abundantly clear, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, that Congress, that the Vice President of the United States cannot and has no role in determining the outcome of a presidential election. That was already the case, but the law was written in 1887. So Congress is taking the opportunity now to revise it and review it to make it abundantly clear in case somebody ever tries this nonsense again, that it's just abundantly clear that it cannot happen. So what does the committee need? The committee needs testimony. The committee is going to get testimony. They already have reams of documents. I think we're all underrating how much work this committee has done and how much they have already turned up, both from subpoenas and from voluntary witnesses.
Charles, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I think Jake is right. I do think we have underestimated and underrated what the committee has done. I think they've done extraordinary work so far. As well, if you want to be illogically consistent, then wouldn't Kamala Harris have the right, the lawful right to decide the outcome of the next presidential election? Mr. Trump really does not think about what he says, and what he says is logically inconsistent and consistently wrong. The law should be revised to make it clear that a vice president doesn't have the authority that Trump ascribes to the vice president. But Pence did the right thing. I'm sure Harris will do the right thing. And it makes sense to me, Stephanie, to make the law more clear.
Logically inconsistent and consistently wrong would make for an amazing T-shirt, Chuck. I do want to ask you about this January 6th investigation. It is the largest criminal probe in U.S. history. Trump now saying he might pardon 700 plus of those rioters, those people who were charged, if he wins again. Could he even do that?
Well, if he wins again, yes, he could, because these are federal offenses, and the president of the United States, any president, has the authority to pardon or commute federal offenses. But I want to remind you, Stephanie, not that you would need reminding, that one of the things the Mueller team found was that when Trump dangled pardons to people like Paul Manafort, that was obstructive behavior. It was a signal, and not a very subtle one, that if you keep your mouth shut and you don't cooperate with federal agents and federal prosecutors, I have something for you down the road, a pardon. And so I worry that this is the exact same signal to people who have been charged but who have not yet pled guilty and who may be contemplating cooperating so that investigators can move up the ladder. I think it's dangerous, I think it's wrong, and I think it's conceivably illegal.
But, Jake, does it even make sense politically? His comments, yes, they're going to lock in the votes of rioters, but those people were going to vote for him anyway. What does this do to middle-of-the-road Republicans? What does this do to Americans who all they need to do is watch a campaign ad from the January 6th riot with Joe Biden or any other Democrat saying Trump thinks this is A-OK. He wants to free these people.
What happened on January 6th, as somebody who was here and who lived through it, is abundantly clear. It was an attack on the Capitol with an attempt to overthrow lawfully elected president and government. Period, the end. I think with time, more people are beginning to realize that, and I think we've seen a couple public polls recently that indicate that Trump's sway with certain parts of the Republican electorate are waning, and I see that every day on Capitol Hill. I really do, and I've been meaning to write this in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I could just tell you that Donald Trump plays absolutely no role in legislating on Capitol Hill, has no sway with almost any member of the Senate, obviously has some sway with members of the House, but I would just say that with some time, I think that we now see, and I think that it's abundantly clear what happened on January 6th. And if Donald Trump says it's nothing and says he wants to overturn it, I'm not a fortune teller, but that seems like a bizarre political strategy and substantively, as Chuck laid out, ridiculous. I mean, these are people who almost every Republican that I've spoken to on Capitol Hill, save some of the outer fringes of the Republican Party, have said these people deserve to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.